Hello, and welcome back to the Women's Rugby Show weekly podcast with me, Sam, by the way. Back again for another episode. It's Six Nations time, and we're giving you a little bit of a preview to the two games we're going to be heading to this weekend on this episode. On Saturday, we're heading up to Edinburgh to see Scotland taking on Wales, and then on Sunday, we're heading down to York to see England take on Italy. So in this episode, we're going to be hearing from the Scotland camp, but also the England camp. Let's get into this episode. Starting off with Scotland, first of all, and earlier in the week we heard from the centre Lisa Thomson, their forwards coach Fraser Brown, and their leader and captain Rachel Malcolm. But we also heard today from Bryan Easson on squad announcement day, just hearing a little bit about our thoughts on their squad. Hi Lisa, just a couple of quick ones for me. Just wanted to touch on the Celtic Challenge first of all, and kind of how important that's been to some of the players who kind of made that step up over the last year into the squad and kind of the energy they brought to it.
Yeah, I think it's provides a higher level of game time for those girls that are playing club rugby in Scotland. And obviously I dipped into that last year and really enjoyed my time at Edinburgh. But yeah, we've got a few of the Edinburgh and Glasgow girls in with us past few weeks. So yeah, that's been exciting.
Just kind of how important is it, like you mentioned, for those obviously the players who come down now from Scotland now playing the PWR, the first few had their first few seasons, like Sabellian, Emma, obviously she's been injured, but kind of making her first journeys down. Rachel Phillips at Sales, kind of how much do you see the energy then kind of the learnings they brought from the PWR into camp now?
I think it's huge, and I think it's great that we're all at different clubs and learning from different people. Obviously myself at Trailfinders, we've got such a variety of players from different countries, and I think I've learned so much, and being fully 15s this year has been massive for my development, and everyone just combinations at different clubs and everyone learning from Red Roses, from Americans, Canadians, like everyone is learning from different people, so we all just bring that back when we come to Scotland, and it's been a good learning experience, but also a good vibe and keeping it fresh when we come back in here.
And final one for me, potentially a bit of a weird question, but what is a successful Six Nations look like for Scotland this year?
I think we're definitely looking at those 3 home games. And like Claire says, we have got a good run of fixtures, and I think we'll be looking to put out, like, we've got new players and new faces as well, so just gelling all that together as well and getting good performances. But those 3 home games will be massive for us.
And sorry, just one last one. Who out of the kind of those newer players you would be keeping an eye on this weekend potentially or throughout the tournament?
We've got Emma Orr back, obviously. She's not played, unfortunately got injured just before, so it'll be exciting to see where she's been with her first season down south. Also Holly Cunningham from Bristol Bears. She's been good in and around training as well, so it'll be exciting to see her. Who else have we got? Evie Will's been back in. She's had a wee stint out. So she's just unreal to have around camp. She's good vibes and been unreal for the culture, and she's been straight back into our social team. So excited to see her on and off the pitch. She's good addition.
Perfect. Cheers, Lisa. Thank you.
Cheers.
Hi, Fraser. Just one quick one from me, really. Claire's kind of touched on the second rows, but your back row options are quite interesting, kind of finding the balance between kind of how important is finding that balance between your options in the back row.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're in a really fortunate position that we have 5 or 6 genuine options in that back row, and I think we could pick probably any combination of them, and it wouldn't weaken us or strengthen us. You know, our back row options are incredible. I think that tends to be a theme in all Scottish teams, that there's always plenty of back rowers kicking around. But look, I think Jade's been excellent for Harlequins this year. She's probably been back to her best. Powerful, abrasive ball carrying, very dynamic. EVG's skill sets, whether it's in the wide channels or in the tight, she's a very dynamic, powerful ball carrier as well. Rach McLaughlin is your very typical 7. She loves to hit things hard, her work rate's through the roof. Alex obviously was unbelievable last year, and then we have Rach, who's kind of captain fantastic, who I think probably played some of her best rugby at WXV, certainly that I've seen over the last couple of years. Both sides of the ball. So yeah, it's a really strong area for us. Getting the right balance, obviously that's our job. But we're kind of blessed to have some real quality options in that back row.
And on Rachel McLaughlin, obviously she's been in France and Montpellier this year. Have you seen her bring anything different kind of back to camp from what she's learned over in France?
I think she's probably just brought a little bit more of an edge to her game. I think in France as well, she's been able to get on her hands on the ball a bit more. So certainly, I think since she's been back in here, that attacking side of her game, definitely see a big shift in that. But there's some real quality in that French league. There's also some pretty big physical players, and I think Rachel's come back with kind of the real bit between her teeth, and probably added. She was always a bit of a dog as a seven who will go around and hit things and do it all day, but she's brought some real power back into her game. So again, it's really nice to see someone go away into a completely different environment in a different country and kind of flourish and come back and bring something new to her game.
Perfect. Cheers, Fraser. Thank you. How excited are you to be back in a Six Nations week, first of all?
Yeah, I absolutely love the Six Nations. I think, for her as players, it's a tournament we have every year. It always has so much buzz around it. And it's kind of your first opportunity in quite a long time, usually, to be back amongst your international teammates. And as I'm sure most people are aware, because we never stop talking about it, we absolutely love being in camp and we love being around this team. So I think I just feel super excited and super fortunate to be back in camp, and very excited about the prospect of getting out at home for our first game against Wales this week.
You mentioned just then starting off at the highs. Obviously, you got 3 games at the Hive. Just kind of how nice and how much do you enjoy playing at the Hive and kind of at home at one place?
Yeah, we love it. I don't know if any of you guys have been to the Hive for any of our home games, but it's perfectly set out that we get to have a huge amount of interaction with our fans, particularly after the game. And I think, that's something that we are so passionate about is, in Scotland, rugby was not big when I was growing up, and it's the same for most of the girls in this team. And to then have the opportunity after a game to see these thousands of young boys, girls, whatever it might be, and adults come and be so enthusiastic about women's rugby and so excited to get to interact with us. That is something that brings us so much energy as a squad. So I think that aspect of it, when the stands are full and Loch Lomond's being chanted at us just before we kick off, is something that brings us so much inspiration, because that's a song which is pretty close to our heart. And I think just those little bits that really add to the moment and the experience of getting the opportunity to pull a Scotland shirt on is massive. But we love playing at home, and we love playing at the Hive. We love having our fans right there with us, and what way to kick it off than against the old rivals Wales.
And I asked Lisa this as well, just kind of what does a successful Six Nations look like for Scotland heading into the rest of this year?
I think ultimately, the performances need to improve from game 1 to game 5. I think we need to look at ourselves in terms of WXV, and are we 1,000% happy with how we actually performed? Yes, we won 2 out of 3 games, but was there a lot of aspects of the performances we probably weren't happy with? Yes. And for me, as a leader, as a captain within this group, I want us to not be happy with just winning. I want us to be pushing performances as well as outcomes. And don't get me wrong, there's an art in winning, and we need to learn to grind out sometimes ugly performances, and that's definitely part of it. But I think, the performances need to be first and foremost, but ultimately I also want us to win games. And I think, those 3 home games are probably our best opportunities for those. So we'll definitely be looking at those as big targets. But I also, there is not a single game I've played with a Scotland shirt on my back that I haven't gone into thinking and aiming to win. So that will be our absolutely our aim going into every game. And last year we pushed France right to the wire, and I'm super excited to go to La Rochelle next week, and I think have that opportunity to go at them again and see where we're at, and see where we're at against England, and where that gap's at that we all talk about all the time. Because we want to get closer, we want to keep pushing, and we want to climb those world rankings. So to do that, we need to compete against the best. We need to win games, but we need to perform. So yeah, I don't know if that was a bit of a waffly answer to your question, but that's for me are probably the big 3 things that we want to get out of a successful Six Nations.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Cheers. And just one from me, just how important is kind of the club link up of Leia and Helen at 9 and 10, kind of such a key position in the combo between them?
Listen, it's really good, Sam. I mean, it's great that we've got players who understand each other. We've got players that understand how each other plays. I think, especially at 9 and 10, you understand how far somebody can pass. You understand the widths off either side. You understand how they play off whether it's off a left or a right, or a breakout or whatever. So it's for them to understand each other is obviously important. We don't necessarily look at that has been the reason for them being selected. I think they both performed really well this year, but also performed really well at training. Katie Martinson and Helen have also got a good link. Katie Martinson and Evie Wells, whether it's at 9 or 10, have got good links. So, we work really closely with them, having links with whoever they're playing. But yeah, there's always an added incentive if they play with each other regularly at training as well. But they both performed well, and that's why they're both selected.
Cheers, Bryan. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Cheers.
Hi, Mia. Just a couple of quick ones from me. You've spoken about kind of how you've changed in those kind of 5 years since your first cap, but how do you think the Red Roses have changed in that time?
Oh, I think they've changed a lot. Obviously, the women's game is changing a lot, and you just see them get better and better every year. You see there's no worry of complacency. They're very, very dominant on the pitch, and I think the message that's trying to be driven into going into the Six Nations is that we want to continue to evolve and push women's rugby to a place where it hasn't gone before. So yeah, there's always like that drive to get better and not become complacent.
Do you feel that kind of off-pitch support has grown massively in that time as well?
Oh, 100%. I mean, especially at club, our support team around us has nearly doubled from when I first started playing in the Premiership. And yeah, obviously coming into an international environment like this is outstanding, very professional.
And obviously you were awarded a transitional contract last year. Kind of how important has that been, and kind of the support around that contract in that last year to get you back into this position where you're named in another Red Roses squad?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it doesn't just offer that financial support, which is needed for you to put more of your time into training, but it's also getting put onto these specialized programs, and having specialized coaches coming in. I've been able to benefit from having a kicking coach coming into Gloucester, and just really help me in aspects of my game which I probably wouldn't have had time for before. So yeah, it's been really helpful.
Perfect. Cheers, Mia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Claudia. Just a quick one from me. Obviously, York this weekend, Leicester against Scotland, then back to Twickenham. Just how important is it kind of, and how nice is it to get around the country and kind of expose the Red Roses to a wider audience?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, we look at, just to mention the big tournament at the end of the year or in the next sort of 6 months or so. The World Cup is all about sort of growing the desire for young girls to play rugby. I think it's a showcase of where we're at right now, and it's a showcase of, and so as is the Six Nations, it's a showcase of where women's rugby is at, and we want as many people to be watching that and to be engaging with it, to be interested by it. So I think it's still the case that the more we can travel around the country, the more we can bring in a few new pockets of people, and the more that they share their experience with others, the more people are going to bring into this environment, into this journey. And I think that's very much what it's about. We talk about playing for the girls, and whether that's the girls in the room, that's a lot of it, about playing for us and playing for the team, but it's also playing for the girls that have set us up to be where we are today, and also playing for the future and playing for the little girls that are watching. So as many small girls and boys can be watching and hopefully be inspired by us, the better, I think.